Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do a quick lesson on a Reddit post. So I subscribe to the unemployed section just to see kind of what's really going on in the world, and just to hear people's stories. And I try and post stuff pretty much a canned answer unless I can help them in some more kind of practical way. But I just let people know that post this kind of stuff that it's not their fault. Like I went through corporate America starting in 2007. And it wasn't so bad, even though there were a lot of layoffs at Schlumberger at that time. It was very close to the '08 housing bubble. But, it was manageable. And then every experience after that was kind of getting worse, and I didn't really pay attention to the fact that it was kind of everybody was experiencing it. They were just dealing with it. And, it's not our fault. This whole system is just conducive to this type of stuff that I'll share in this post. And when like jobs become scarce and things get tighter, resources become scarce, people just behave in a way to preserve their own life, really, and their own position. This is just human nature. This is not necessarily evil. It's just people's reaction when things are going in a certain direction. And the corporate world, the corporate America, there's definitely much more laying off than hiring. And, quite frankly, in the corporate structure that we have here in America, a lot of the jobs are not necessary. And especially, I worked in accounting and finance and even some of the engineering jobs, like people are just doing stuff, with no sense of like whether what they're doing will actually be used or important or, be a variable in a decision-making process. So that sort of further compounds the fact that, a lot of the jobs, quite frankly, are not even needed. And so it creates a tense environment. So this person titles their post, "Can't Take It Anymore. 2 years ago, I was fired from a job on the East Coast and moved back to the West Coast to be with my now ex-boyfriend. I was unemployed for 6 months and had the worst time trying to find a decent paying job I had on the East Coast. Both have similar costs of living. I have a master's degree and was working as a legal temp making $15 an hour, and my boss knew I was a steal. I finally found a job making much less than I used to, but felt forced to take it because I could have been unemployed for so long and couldn't take it anymore." So $15 an hour is like unlivable. Like that's unlivable, in the middle of Idaho. But that's absolutely ridiculous when you think about how little that is. And so, I'm not making fun of her. I'm working part-time hourly as well. But, even the amount that I make, like it's barely enough, and there are months where I'm running a slight deficit and stuff. So, $15, and I'm in Houston, which is a relatively cheap city. So I can't imagine how a person can do that on the West Coast. And so, this is, I just find it funny when people are like defending, minimum wage increases, and I've had other people, and one particular person I remember in particular was like a housewife, and she was like complaining that people are like wanting higher minimum wage. And it's like, eventually these people will find out, how much the government loves them, and like, that's sad, but true. It's like people who just don't, have common sense or that evil to not know that we're absolutely getting fleeced. Whether you're making $15 an hour or even making $200 an hour, it doesn't matter. It's like with the amount of money in circulation, people should be making a lot. Like $15 an hour is literally like a penny with respect to how much money is out there that's been printed, in particular over the last like 10, 15 years. So we have people who are actually out there defending the government and the excessive money printing and saying, no, like people should deserve, don't deserve, a higher minimum wage. Just live with whatever you have, like dogs, basically. So this just shows that this whole system is designed to collapse upon itself because the very people who are oppressed and are about to be, taught, displayed how much they're loved by the government are the ones defending their very government that's oppressing all of us. So the job was good at first, but then I started resenting how little I was getting paid because I was doing a lot of really great work. And on top of that, my boss was holding me back from leadership opportunities and professional development in order to focus on my current responsibilities. She fired me 10 days before I would have made my 1-year probation, after which they wouldn't have been able to fire me without just cause. She said it was because I wasn't a good fit, but I know it's because she was tired of me upstaging her work and making her look bad. So again, I'm not a genius, but I've had situations. I would say most of my experiences, I've been smarter, more inclined, more apt, more able than my boss. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. And then it's not really that hard. I mean, especially in accounting and finance, if you're like pretty good at Excel and just know some basics and have common sense, you can stand out. So this is very, very common. Again, like I said at the beginning, people are just very, very concerned about their job security, their turf, and all that. They have to protect it. And not a surprise that someone who is flourishing, doing well, doing good work is fired. What is the kind of accepted kind of employee is someone who's talks smart, eloquently, well spoken, but does sort of mediocre work, talks in circles, and basically does whatever their boss says. Like if they're off on holidays and the boss calls them and they need something, and they do it, even though it's probably completely useless to the company, but it's just like obedience. And I've seen this in many different companies. This is not just a one-off. This is what's happening, and this is the way things are going. And there's no end in sight, because no one's going to speak up for fear of losing their turf, even at the lower levels. And so she's like, luckily, 6 weeks later, I found a temp to perm job at a bank and was making more money than before, but less than on the East Coast. I loved the job and the people I worked with, but my boss and I had cultural differences, and she felt I didn't fit in at the bank and let me go once my contract was up. That was the end of August. Since then, I've been unemployed and getting a steady stream of interviews, but that doesn't make me feel better. At one point a month ago, I interviewed for 3 different jobs that all would have been good, and was sure I'd land one of them in time to be employed in 2019, but none of them worked out, and it killed me. This is the same stuff I went through 2 years ago when I first moved back to the West Coast. I get interviews at great places and even get to the last round, and they always pick someone else. So the guy, I subscribe to X22 Report, and he mentions this regularly on his channel, which is pretty popular, that there's a lot of requisitions out there that are just fake. Like they just put them out there because they don't want to lose the approval. They want, like, to be quite honest, a lot of these managers in these companies don't have anything to do, and I've seen that also with my own eyes. I had nothing to do in a lot of these jobs that I work for at like Bed Bath, Amazon, etc. But it's like they also have nothing to do, so they need like things to do, like interview people and just create churn, which is a great way to describe a lot of the stuff that's going on in corporate America. And so, I wouldn't be surprised at all that this girl is saying exactly what she said, and that's her experience, is that these jobs that these interviews that she's gone to, were just sort of there, just to sort of create an illusion that the company's hiring and doing well, when in fact they maybe had no intent on hiring anybody, not just her. Now I'm at the point I was last month. I've interviewed with several great places, and I'm waiting for the scheduling of the second round. I'm excited but scared, because if it doesn't happen this week, then I'll have to wait until the week of January 7th, which means I'll be unemployed for another month at least, and not start a new job till February. So, this is the process. It's very, very slow. And what she just said is like a best case scenario. So she's still very hopeful and optimistic, with what she just said. The jobs that I've landed recently have pretty much taken like a month or two from beginning to end. And that's fast, to be honest, like from what I can sense. All in all, since being let go last March, I felt like I had been unemployed for a year. The temp job at the bank was just a short fluke. I wish my ex-supervisor knew how much he effed up my life. I hate that I took a job being paid $20K less than what I'm worth just to work under her and secure behind. On top of being unemployed, since I have no income, I had to drop my gym membership and can't afford healthy food. So this is where we're going to start seeing indirect effects of this economy very, very quickly. Gym membership stuff will go down. I'm a member at a golf course that you can tell is there's not that many people that play. So once people are like tight on money or time or both, because they're working multiple jobs, they're having to have a side hustle, they can't do leisure, and then their health suffers. And so you can see that the Whole Foods and all that kind of stuff, that acquisition was largely made sense only because they needed Amazon's mentality of frugality to survive, because people are just not spending money on quote-unquote high-end food anymore. That's just a logical merger that pretty much needed to happen. So Amazon will take their business and, strip out the unnecessary costs and give them at least a chance to survive going forward. And so these are, again, the indirect effects of a slowing down economy. I just want to get a job again so that I can afford to live healthy. I'm lucky my boyfriend thinks I'm still attractive, but if he knew how I looked 5 to 10 years ago, he would know how the mighty have fallen. I've been unemployed on and off. So this person's been unemployed on and off since 2014. They have a master's degree. And they're not even really looking for, a $200,000 job, with the corner window, the corner office, type thing or whatever, overlooking Central Park or anything like that. This should not be that hard for an economy to do, in particular one that's been injected with so much, basically steroids, financial stimulus, like just a ridiculous amount. And I've done a video on that, how much is out there in circulation, enough for many, 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 many generations and stuff for Americans. This should not really be that hard, and like to just kind of cough up, vomit out a $15 an hour job for someone who's taken the time to not just get an undergrad but a master's degree is absolutely pathetic, So it's really taken a toll on my mental health, a lot of self-doubt and low self-esteem. I'm worried it will follow me to my next job, where I'll be paranoid about getting fired and being unemployed again. So she's obviously clearly optimistic that she'll find another one, which is great. So I'll just comment to her that, again, like my usual response is, don't blame yourself, because I've done it and I've thought, what's wrong with me? I've just had bad luck and all that kind of stuff. Now I laugh at this stuff. I'm like, I go into I basically don't want jobs. I don't want to work if this system just churns me out and refuses to pay me and give me a job that I will like or be able to maintain my health. And I have absolutely no issues, with divorcing the corporate world permanently, and whatever that entails, is up to God. But, I laugh at it now that I have some understanding. I really wish I knew it earlier. But then, to be honest, if I did, I wouldn't be able to take the corporate world seriously. I just would see that I'm one of many zombies, and then the downward spiral would have happened much quicker. So anyway, I just wanted to go through this Reddit post. It's good to get on this and basically hear people's real life, and even if you are employed, unemployment could lurk for anybody, depending on bad decisions by management or just restructuring and one, slip of the tongue and all that kind of stuff. The corporate world is very, very, a job is very, very insecure for all people from the top down. And so this is the world that we live in. Again, I feel like we're living in the end times because, quite honestly, like, people who want to work can't find jobs, and the people that do have jobs, they're hanging by a thread. So it's like, I don't understand how this system could sustain itself. And it's like everybody is dependent on these corporations, which I feel are the tentacles, the reach of the beast system that's described, in the Bible. And so I do feel that we're living in the last days, largely because very few people, less and less people have the ability to even survive in this system. Okay, hope everyone's doing well. Take care. Bye.